Okay. Information. Textbook adoptions. We might need a moment to,
Yeah, someone's waking them up right now. Thank you. March 6th. Um,
Dr. DeVries, hello. Thank you for
Hello.
hanging in there with us.
Good morning, everybody.
All right, so you're here to present an elementary art textbook recommendation?
I sure am. All right, so good evening, Chairwoman Rye, Vice Chair Melnick, members of the school board, and Dr. Spence. I'm Nicole DeVries. Oh, I don't know how that, there we go. Director of K-12 and Gifted Programs, and I'm here this evening to provide you with information regarding textbook adoption for elementary art in grades 1 through 5. Kindergarten is not included in this adoption because it is not a mandatory subject for grade K students. For the digital textbook recommendation for consideration, this is considered for the implementation for fall of 2021. Before presenting my recommendation, I'd like to thank the Visual Arts Coordinator, Chris Buhner, and his committee members for dedicating their time and efforts in choosing the best textbook for our students. During the adoption process, both open education resources and the digital textbook were reviewed and considered. In all cases, the adoption committee preferred the digital textbook option over the open educational resources. Specifically, the textbook offered cutting-edge art educational tools and copyrighted resources that supported the new Virginia Visual Arts Standards of Learning to be fully implemented in the fall of 2021. This premier textbook will not only assist experienced teachers with enhancement of lessons with meaningful depth and complexity, but will also support the high volume of new art teachers that we are currently experiencing in the school division due to traditional movement and retirements. The committee has selected Explorations in Art grades 1 through 5, second edition ebooks, as its first choice for elementary art grades 1 through 5. The text is aligned with the new 2021 Visual Arts Standards of Learning that will be fully implemented during the 2021-2022 school year. This digital textbook provides instant access to hundreds of rich, relatable, and relevant units of study that reflect best practices for art education. It is also uniquely suited for remote, traditional, or hybrid classroom models. Because students and teachers can access the content from the ebooks anywhere with an internet connection, the platform is designed to work easily with interactive digital boards as well as presentation tools used by teachers both online and in the classroom. In alignment with the goals and strategies outlined in Compass to 2025, this resource supports flexible approaches to instruction, such as the flipped classroom model, projecting or sharing the ebook for all students to see at once, or independent reading on tablets, laptops, or other mobile devices. This comprehensive digital platform includes access to thousands of copyrighted fine arts images correlated to the lessons, portfolios for students to document their work, and unique lesson planning and presentation tools designed specifically for art educators. The initial implementation for this digital textbook is just over $255,000, and the total implementation cost over 6 years of the adoption cycle is approximately $476,000. Davis Digital has agreed to extend a scheduled payment plan to VBCPS, so the remaining balance after year 1 will be equally divided between years 2 through 6, significantly relaxing the impact on the yearly textbook budget. So thank you for your consideration of the committee's recommendations. I have with me Mr. Chris Buhner, the Visual Arts Coordinator, and we welcome any questions that you may have.
So you have the chair and vice chair both thinking the same thing, that we didn't know elementary art had a textbook.
Well, we have not had a textbook up to this point
Oh,
for a
then
very long
maybe-
time.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's worthy of a little just background.
Correct.
Either of you want to share how we got to this point then?
Well, good morning, everyone. So we, over the years, and I've been within the system for, 27 years now, we've had a textbook in the art program always at the high school level. Approximately 10 years ago, there was adoption process through the same company for the middle school program, but now this is our opportunity to finally close the gap, if you will, to have the foundational piece to it, the elementary. Where all these textbooks will finally align for our students from first grade all the way up through 12th grade. So I am excited if this is truly a possibility and gets approved, because we're going to be able to build the strongest foundation we've ever had with our students, first grade through fifth grade, with all those important processes that roll over into other core subjects. 1 through 5, equitable across the division for every single kid. We've got to look at the one other area too, and it's just maybe where we are nowadays. When we look at next year too, we will probably have, over the last 3 years, 50% of our elementary teachers will be brand new. So this is our opportunity to give them a solid foundation that we can then align with the brand new SOLs that connect to the graduate profile, et cetera. So a lot of reasons why I think this would really be of great asset to our students.
Thank you. And Miss Manning and then Mrs. Anderson.
Could we go back to the cost slide again? I don't know who has the. Okay, so you said that they're going to allow us to pay for it over a period of years, and we will own it at that point, or is this kind of just access?
Yeah, it's access because it is a digital book, so after the 6 years, the access would go away. It's like a subscription service.
Okay. I'm not saying this isn't important, but we were just given a budget presentation earlier today, so I'm just, looking at these numbers. Did you explore hard copy books and what the price difference was on that?
They do, when you add in the hard copy books, it becomes more expensive. And the nice thing about the ebooks now that they do, they're consistently updated. And that's a huge improvement from the past. Like, majority of our high school textbooks that we have right now, we're about 2 editions behind. And we're going to have to revisit that again. The nice thing about these textbooks is we won't have to worry about that anymore.
So we don't have a textbook currently for elementary. What are our teachers using?
Well, currently it's all in-house written curriculum that we use, and then we use additional resources. We do currently purchase through the same company the digital resources, access to their images right now. So that will now be included in the edition with the ebook. They will
So
be combined.
do we have a cost on that? How much we're trying to see the cost
Yeah, I'd have
delta
to get
here?
back to you. I was just looking at the textbook budget, so I'm trying to remember. I think it was about $23,000 a year, but that could have been all 3 grade levels combined. So I
Okay, if
could
you
let
wouldn't
know.
mind just getting that for me, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Anderson and Mr. Edwards.
So my question was very similar to Ms. Manning's, but is it common to space it out that way for the costs, how they're doing it, in gradual years? Has that been common, or is this just because did they offer that to everybody, or is it something they've just come up with?
Sure.
Can you explain a little bit more
So
about?
it's not common. It's something that we have started asking for in recent years. because our textbook budget has shrunk. One of our justifications for asking for this with textbook companies when we negotiate is that if you have multiple textbook adoptions going through in the same year, to front the money for all 6 years for each of those textbooks would be millions of dollars, and it would leave very little for replacements and some of the other subscriptions that we need. And so we've started requesting from some of the companies that we know are able to do that, especially like subscription-based companies or companies that we know are digital, if they could spread those payments out evenly over a certain amount of years, the years of the adoption. So, no, this is not something that Davis has done. They gave us a little pushback. They said they'd never done this for anybody before, but they were willing to extend that to us after they, saw that we were, I think, sincere in our reason why, because of our budget restraints.
So in a year when we're looking at cutting costs as much as possible, in a year where we're actually losing money left and right because of what's happened with this whole pandemic, I'm not saying it's not necessary, but I have to look at it and say, we haven't had a textbook all these years, and yet we do have a very robust program. So can you convince me that this is absolutely the best thing for our buck? Is this really necessary?
Well, I think when we've polled teachers, and we did survey teachers and asked teachers, of course, before we even put together a committee, what their needs are, did a needs assessment. One of the things that they talked about was a more structured resource to accompany the curriculum, because the curriculum may be robust, but they still have to go out and find things on their own. And besides that, they, as Chris said, they have pretty significant turnover. And so we wanted to be able to provide those teachers with the foundation that they need when they come into the classroom and they're teaching, 500 students right off the bat every day of the week. That's very overwhelming for an art teacher. Seeing every grade level, every week. And so it just provides them with that structure that was missing even with a robust curriculum. Having a good supporting resource is always important. And we didn't necessarily have that. We were piecemealing stuff together. The other thing about it is we do purchase, as Chris said, some of the digital images, which we're paying for already. And those digital images, as we looked in open educational resources, are not free. There are many free digital images out there, not copyrighted. But most of them are for higher level when you think about like art history, AP art history, some of the Renaissance artists and things like that. Those are the types of images that you see that are, in Creative Commons or that are accessible online. Some of the things that you have that are appropriate for an elementary student are not necessarily free and available. And so Davis curates all of that for us. And then allows us to use those for a price, of course.
Okay, well, it is something I'll be thinking about, but, like I said, we only have so many dimes that we can split. And
I guess an additional,
priorities, like Ms. Manning said, we saw something this evening from Human Resources about what we need to be thinking about, so, yeah.
I guess just an additional reminder, this is not new money. This is an existing textbook budget. So if you're talking about, finding money for other things, first, we're not in that position in this
Okay.
year. But second, administration wouldn't recommend shrinking the textbook budget. I'll just say that because we've seen a significant shrinking of the textbook budget over the last decade or so, and it's fairly thin now. What I would say is one of the jobs that DTAL has is to, on an annual basis, plan for the textbook budget in such a way that we can use the existing budget to accomplish their goals. And so, I don't want anybody to have the impression this is new money. This is money already inside the budget for textbooks. So I just want to be clear about that.
Okay.
Mr. Edwards and then Mrs. Felton.
The textbook adoptions that we've had in the last 4 to 6 weeks, we've had a few. I'm not convinced from the presentations that there was an active look at open resource options that included potential use of a portion of the funds to reimburse the efforts by local staff to pull that material together. The way the presentations have come out is like, we had this committee, and that committee found this book that had everything we wanted, so that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's what I heard.
So,
And I think going forward, since open source has been applauded as an option, that the presentation on textbook adoption should factor that into what's presented and why it won't work here. Particularly in a case here where we're not even doing a renewal, we just decided we wanted a text. I'm not, again, the presentation didn't really roll out at like, oh my gosh, we've been stumbling and fumbling for years, and oh man, we gotta have a text, or, yeah, it's money within the quote textbook funds, but we've also heard that there's a wash between textbook funds and the operating budget allowed by VDOE, particularly for open resource. So this is a horrible time of the night to be dealing with something of this substance, but I do view it as an issue with a lot of substance. Thank you.
So just as a reminder that our textbook procurement process, we do have a structured textbook procurement process in place, which follows to the letter what BDOE's procurement process is. The first step of that process in BBCPS is to look at to open the doors and look for what's out there, including open educational resources. If you recall, Mr. Delaney did a presentation along with Bridget Mariano a couple weeks ago, talking about kind of the benefits and the drawbacks of OER and how that's something we definitely have tried to move towards over the past several years because it fiscally makes sense, where it's appropriate and where it's available. What you don't find often is at the elementary level, there's very many age-appropriate or developmentally appropriate resources that are OERs yet at the elementary level. You see that more so mostly at the high school level, possibly in the middle years. But that's still the first step in the process, is to look for OERs. If there's not an OER out there that's reasonable, then we start with the next step in the procurement process, which is to put out the RFP to open the doors and invite companies in to share their proposals with their resources that they have to offer. And then the process begins from there, and that's the process we've always had.
And I think, Mr. Edwards, your point is a good one, that when we come and present the textbook adoption information items, that will include a discussion of what was reviewed in terms of OER resources available or not.
And we could do that.
So we'll make a note of that. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Felton.
It is in the morning, but I'd just like to say thank you for moving forward with this. Coming from a higher education librarian background, I know how important digital electronic books are, because you can get a book, and if they want to change one page, you have to buy the whole set for one page change. So digital makes a lot of sense to me from my background. But also, I'd just like to say, art for a young mind, it strengthens the creativity skills as well.
Yeah,
It does that. And also, over in our VJD department, they use art for therapy as well. So I see a lot of benefits in it. I see what they're talking about the budget. But Mr. Bruno, I'd just like to say thank you for all that you do. He has a good life where he he endorses and that's our students, and I've been to several of your art presentation about our Virginia Beach students giving and showing their art presentation. So with you behind this, I'm looking for greater works, art for my student as well. And not only that, you were pulled out and considered one of the VSBA judges to art, to judge the art contest for students, and I do appreciate your help. But I'm looking forward to it. You've always presented a good art presentation and displaying our students and their work all over the city. And there's a couple of murals that you've been in charge of too. So I want to say thank you, and I just look forward to the greater works of implementation of this art. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the last comment for me is, surely this board understands that art is no longer some glue sticks and construction paper and this, and you know, the fine motor control in elementary school with scissors. Our teachers collaborate with our classroom teachers, and their lessons correlate with the curriculum, and there's a lot of work that goes behind these art projects, and I'm really excited to see this book and the benefits that the art teachers will gain from this. So, thank you.
So I'll just add, I think there were some good questions tonight, and if any of my colleagues wish to follow up, should they direct the questions to both of you, or what would you, what is your
Whatever-
wish?
Yep, that's fine. You can address them to myself and Mr. Buhner, and we can certainly get you the answers.
Okay, I would encourage you all to do that once you have more time to chew on all this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a
Okay.
good night.
Thank
And
you.
now we welcome Mr. Delaney with AP Computer Science A, as opposed to, do we have a B?
No, we don't. There used to be an AB, but that's no longer offered by College Board. And good evening, Chairwoman Rye, Vice Chair Melnick, members of the school board, and Dr. Spence. I'm here this evening to provide you information regarding the Textbook Adoptions Committee selection for AP Computer Science A. And Mr. Edwards, you will see an open educational resource selection here, so it speaks a little bit to what you were discussing. So very timely,
actually did all the.
great timing on my part. Before
I
presenting
knew
our
you
recommendation.
looked busy there behind that door.
Yeah, I was negotiating as the whole conversation was going on. But I would like to thank Dr. DeFries, Director of K-12 and Gifted Programs, and Thomas Coker, our Mathematics Coordinator, and committee members for their time and efforts. The committee has selected the Open Educational Resource CS Awesome as its first choice for the AP Computer Science A course. CS Awesome was developed in collaboration with the National Center of Computer Science Education. It was funded by a grant through Google and was developed to be free of charge under the Creative Commons license. As a result of that, teachers are free to share material in any format, as well as adapt the material for any purpose. The text is aligned to the curriculum framework as set forth by the College Board, and unlike the other reviewed textbooks, the online platform works seamlessly with student Chromebooks, allowing full access to the curriculum and to a JavaScript editor for writing programs. The online platform provides full lessons for each objective set forth by the College Board, including videos, practice problems, and work solutions. Furthermore, the CS Awesome provides valuable additional instructional resources for planning, teaching, and assessing AP Computer Science A. The committee did not recommend a second choice because the textbooks submitted through the RFP were not aligned to the new College Board standards for AP Computer Science A. In addition, by selecting the open educational resource, there is no cost associated. I'd like to thank you for your consideration of the committee's recommendations, and I'd be happy to respond to any questions that you may have.
Yeah.
I wish I could take the credit, but certainly it goes to that committee that's committed to it.
I guess you sold everybody tonight so far. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, we're ending with standing committee reports, if anybody cares to share, or you can email us at another time. Mrs. Holtz.
Get my microphone away. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I am on the Mayor's Disability Committee, and I usually, we about, adults and things that pertain to them. But every year, usually in March, they hold an awards ceremony where they look for people in the community who have done something memorable to help people with disabilities in the community. It could be an individual, it can also be an organization, or, a group of people. So they're looking for people to nominate. We won't, it seems a little early, but it's really not, because we only meet once a month. But if you have anybody that you would like to, suggest to the committee, get in touch with me. And by the way, that we also have a Facebook page. So, and they are promoting that on the Facebook page. So, it's a wonderful way to honor people in our community that don't get recognized, because they are some of the time, they are the silent volunteers that don't. So anyone that you feel has contributed to helping people with disabilities in our community, just let us know. It'll be in, I think it's usually in March. This year it'll be in April, but if you have a name, they really do, they're very serious about vetting people. So get the name in early or the group in early if you want to honor somebody. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? On behalf of the governance committee, I want to say thank you to our colleagues for taking the time to meet with your assigned committee member to provide feedback on the protocols manual, and the committee's meeting tomorrow to review all that feedback. So thank you. And I don't want to adjourn without recognizing our special guest tonight, and to her credit, she has stuck there with us until the end, but our newest school board member, newly elected, Ms. Jennifer Franklin, has joined. We were so happy you joined us tonight as our special guest, and at our next meeting, we look forward to your swearing in. So with that, no non-agenda speakers, correct, Madam Clerk?
There are no non-agenda speakers.
This meeting is adjourned.